Kovetz, ja? Jetzt bin ich durchgegangen.
Wie lange play? Wie lange play?
This is really the Nekudas Indian, really, what the Rebbe is Mevar do. This Advarim is that the Rebbe is Mevar, that there is the two in Yonim and Allah. One Nekuda is the Pula Chiyuvis, that the Nivra should be Ba'ef and Amas and Tratzna. But without the Nekuda of Shlila, then it would be all the Devar Neisa. Because the Nivra Mitzad Atzma is not Mechuyev to be in such a surah. The Nivra Mitzad Atzma is neutral. And that Viful we'll be mechanech or be mitzayir the nivra that it should be in a eifin that's masim teratzin elyon, but the fact that it had a possibility to be without the kiyum mitzvah, so that itself is already not. Then the nivra is not the way it is masim teratzin elyon, because the nivra also has an alulis of being not the way the Eibishter wants. So then it's not behesim teratzin atayra. Mitzad tayra, that's the whole mitzvah of the yad, a yad of nachas tefillin or b'kei tzivah. So then the mitzvah pulaf and shlil to be shelo that nekud in the yad. That's Shloime hasn't Hadran. And there is a var. These two nekudas come from the darga of Motzi, Mitzad darga of Eini Motzi. Mitzad Motzi is the gather of Motzi is that the Eibishter the way the Elokus is mitzam himself be a makal of Mitzias Eilemis. Mitzad that Indian so there's a tefillas makam to Mitzias. You can't say the whole Mitzias of Yad is only kiyum Motzi Eilemis. Mitzad the fact that the Eibishter is mitzam and Natzir from Motzi, so there is a chshivus to the Mitzias of Elt. So the Erem is labish bekelim, so the Erem is labish beklei chesed. So the tnu of chesed has a tefillas makim. You can't say that mayim or the tnu of chesed in klip is garnished. If it's garnished, so what's the pshat? The Eibishter mitzvah himself in chesed. The eres mitzvah and of chesed means that there's some order that tefillas makim to the mitzvahs of chesed. So in order that the whole mitzvahs of chesed should be only mitzvah ratzon elyon, that's not from onkem mitzvah hecher elyon. That's mitzvah the b'chin of Eini Motzi. Mitzvah Eini Motzi, so in the way achar achar Motzi. Yeah, that's the. But the shas is Eini Motzi, so v'chanish takim mitzvahs. You want to have that there is a mitzvah of a yad. What's the whole get? Not that there's no yad. The whole get of the yad is only that the way it is in Tzadaratzim. That the whole mitzvah of yad is a yad of anachas tefillin. The whole mitzvah of meich is a meich which has the idea that yesh a matzah rishon. So the Churban said the tune of any matzah b'chal nishtak in yad. How is that going to have a shpa on vel? So the Rebbe is makdim that the mitzvah in Nivra Gufa is not only matzah. The mitzvah in Nivra Gufa is in the mitzvahs. He doesn't only contain within himself in Mitzias Shabbat. He also has the Nekudas, a Nekudah which is Neveah from the Eini Motzi. So and the way it is in the Nivra Gufa, what's the Pshat Taka? What's the Pshat, the Motzi, the Eini Motzi, the way it is in the Mitzias and Nivra? So the Rebbe's Navayr it is, from Vanish Tam Taka the Mitzias and Welt, from the Motzi and the Eini Motzi B'yachad. Yeah, that's the Rebbe is saying it. It's not the Pshat that there's two different Pchinas in the Lukus. There's a Darga where the Eibishter is higher than Mitzias, and then there is inside that Tzimtzum, so he lowers himself down, he becomes a Makal of Mitzias. It's one Indian. There's one Nekuda. The Nekuda is, it's not two separate dargas. The Nekuda Sadvarim is that you say this let's say a certain of the key. This mitzad atzmai, without a tzimtzum, or with mitzad atzmai, he's mufshit from Welt. Mitzad, the fact that all they were sending to be Eishavos, so he's in the B'china of Matzah. It's not that the Matzah is in a lower darga. The Eini Matzah, mitzad atzmai is Eini Matzah, it's higher than the Gedra Mitzias. But mitzad, the fact that there's a Ratzon Lo'elam, it's mitzad that, he's a marker for Mitzias. So the matzah is not just a matzah; it's an eini matzah. What's this darga? What's the darga from Dortmund Stamm to his house? So the mitzvah is there a pchina of matzah detached from the eini matzah, or the chatchila? What's the makar his house is an air which mitzad atzmi, mitzad etzem ahosa is mufshas from mitzias, and mitzad its rotzen there should be a mitzias elam is mitzad that he's a makar of mitzias. It's the same darga. The same darga. There is the way the darga mitzad atzma he's mufshit, and mitzad his rotzen lahavis He's a makar to it. He's a makar to it. Lechatchil it's one union. It's not two separate inyanim. This prat is clear. You see what's into the inyanim. And b'meila, was far a nivra ver davon. If the nivra was only nishava mitzad motzei, so then the nivra would only have the mitzias shabbat, because his mitzias would only be neveah from the fact that the Eibishter is mitzamsim himself, and b'meila is a mitzias. So now you're saying that what is matzah? What's the darg of matzah in the lukus? The darg of matzah is that mitzad atzmai there is no mitzias. If he wants, he could be that too. That's what the darg of matzah is. An any matzah which pshas reveal is reichet matzah. So what's for a nivra velt and not that something which is intrinsically a mitzias. What's for a mitzias vertefon? A mitzias or a zam a certain mitzias which mitzad echad, he negates himself. Darf nicht sein. When after became is da. is not, what type of Metzias is it? Not a Metzias which is a Metzias which is here be'emes. Metzias which is here be'emes means that is a faran. That's his gather. His gather is that he's a faran. The gather, the Metzias and Nivra is a Metzias she'ein amitas. Metzias she'ein amitas means that the gather and Metzias, what type of Nivra is it? As I start Nivra, which we said Atzmai, he doesn't have to be. Alein Zot, that he negates himself. And Lepel Mamish, he exists. Understand the word? As I start Metzias, right? As I start Metzias, that's even though there's an aspect that he doesn't have to be, that he negates himself, Lepel Mamish, he does exist. That reflects his makir, because his makir isn't any matzi, which means that the fact that he wants, he's also a matzi. He's not only a matzi, or he's not mubal to be a matzi. It's an any matzi, which means that the fact that only pretended to be a mitzias, b'meli gvarna mitzias. So there's azasert nivra. Azasert nivra, which means that the echad, it's one of the tchunas that the nivra has is what's the nature of existence. So azasert nature of existence, which even though on one hand he has a peyach which negates himself, darf nicht sein, any yachali matzis, ein davar yachali matzis, after the king of Pel Mamish is here.
Is there results involved in that?
Huh?
In the nivra?
No, I'm saying, what's the result of a matzi, of an any matzi, which means that the fact that he wants, he's a matzi. So, was for a nivra, not that in Inyani is mitzias. Inyani is, mitzad echad, he doesn't have to be, or there's a force saying that he doesn't make sense that he exists. And after the king of Pel Mamish, he exists. That's the nature of Metzias. A Nivra, which Mitzad Echad negates the very fact that he exists. He has a Tchuna which negates the fact that he exists, but Lepayel he does exist. That's what type of existence it is. That's what the Metzias Shein Amitis. So usually say Metzias Shein Amitis is something which doesn't last. Here we're not saying something which doesn't last. Something that, what type of existence does it have? It's the Tchunas of this Kiyum is that Mitzad Echad, he's shadowed himself, that he shouldn't be, and practically speaking he is here. So any mitzvah that is one mitzvah b'shteitin then that he's just technically here, that's called a mitzvah shein amitis. Like al derech by ma'am mechazbe. During the 7 years, evert nifsak l'poel mamish is erdo. So is he really here? He's only here mitzad. Technically he's here because because of rain, because of this and this weather. Technically he's here. That's not. He's not really here. It's not. The fact his mitzvah doesn't represent the mitzvah mahus of this Indian. V'arayi noch 2 Jahre. When there won't be a cloudy weather, but the nirzain can nar. That's right. The fact that there's a nar here, there's technically a nar. It's not that in truth the Adar of this makim is a nar. So Adar is the Adar of the nivra mitzias. The pile mamish is here. The pile he exists, but he's not intrinsically an existing thing. Versteht ihr mich? Adar like in Senden Pashtus, you say that the Chassid brings the dogma of Zrika Se'even and even though it's Mashal needs beer, but I'm just saying this Nakuda. See, B'shas the stone is flying. The Pelamish stone is flying in the air. The stone flit. But is he a type of thing which flies? Did the stone become a bird? No one's going to say that a bird, he's a something which flies. Mashiach and Evan, even B'shas he's the Pelamish flying, he's technically flying, but he's not a flying type of thing. So you have something, the Pelamish, the Nivra exists, but he's not something which is an existent thing. It's something which its own tchunis is shadowed its mitzias, its tchunis negates as his own nishzain, and lepel mamish he is here. So what's that bringing out? The any matzi is not. There is the any matzi mitzadatz mekaviyachol, the minutik of the matzi. There is a dargan al kus is mufshas from elevit. That legabe that dargan there's no mitzias elements. Nish v'gin the We're talking about there's the any matzi and the matzi biyach is one Indian. It's ein zad. Biyachim says that he's an Eini Matzi. He's not an Eini Matzi that's multiple to be Dafkin Tzir of Eini Matzi. If he wants, he can also be a Matzi. That's what it is. How do you express something that he's Eini Matzi, but if he wants, he's also a Matzi? So that's Eini Matzi and Matzi Biyachim. Vert azam a certain nivra that type of nature existence, the way it is inside the Eini Matzi. So the Fizeh, we understand very well what's the pshat that the halacha that it's not really two separate in Yanim. In halacha, it's not the pshat that there's two separate keiches, a keich of matzi and a keich of eini matzi. The pile we're saying it's not two separate madrigas. It's one emes. The emes says that the fact that the nivra is taka mitzias and the Eibusha gives him a slakam mitzias, the nivra is a mitzias only because the Eibusha wants, not because intrinsically it exists. The matzi is not because if the pshat was that the Eibusha was mitzamtzim himself, so mitzad that tzimtzum he's in the mode of matzi. So mitzad that darga there's a mitzias. Yemot what which can sein the nekuda of halacha to be shaylel. certain acts that the whole Metzius Nivra should only be Api Aratzim. Here we're saying that the fact that the Nivra is the fact that the Eibush says Aina Matzei, that's only because that's what he wants. That's the Ratzim. Mitzad Atzmai, without his Ratzim, is any Matzei. Their Matzei is Aktazai. Their Matzei is Zag, that Mitzad Atzmai, not Mitzad Ratzim, is any Matzei. Mitzad Ratzim is Matzei. Mitzad Ratzim is Matzei Taka, but it's all Mitzad Ratzim. The Meile, there's going to be a Yad loss of it. Uftav Allah is there is a Yad, but the Yad has no Metzias outside of Ratzin Aliyah. So any Nikud in the Yad that's Shleik Fiyar Ratzin is Nishta. Why? Because Mitzad Atzmei is a Nishta. This Mitzad Atzmei, that's the Eni Matzah. That's the Nikud that's Advarim Muskumtaris.
That's what you're saying that the Eni Matzah is.
It's one.
You're not saying Matzah, yeah. You're saying a word of Shil's called Terim or word of
Not necessarily Shil's called Terim. I'm saying is, you're saying...
Before you were saying that the Hadran is not going.
We'll see. I'm not saying Shlosh Kol Terem. We'll see later. But I'm just saying, when you speak that there is... You say, of course, the Mitzad Atzma is higher than Mitzias, and he's Mitzamsum himself. What does it mean he's Mitzamsum himself? It means that through a Tzimtzum, now there's a lower mode of the or since the is not limited to be Dafka in the way of Havshata. If he wants, he could also be in a different form. He could also be in a lower form. It's not that the Tzimtzum we left the way it is beyond Tzimtzum. The way it is Ein Sof, Mitzad HaRatzin, he's a Makal Mitzias. The Rebbe is not speaking any Matzi in Atzmos. I'm saying even in lower Dargas. Any Darga is speaking of Lukus. The Rebbe is not going into what's the Darga of Avshata. But any Darga you speak about, it's not the Pshat that a Lukus is Mugbal in a certain sort of Mitzias, and through a Tzimtzum he lowered himself down to a lower mode. We're saying that the Eibishter Mitzad Echad is Mlotzi V'Leib Mitzias, but he's not Mugbal to be Dafka in a form of Mlotzi V'Leib Mitzias. Mitzad Atzmei is not a Makal Limtzai. He's beyond Limtzai. But he's not Mugbal that if he wants, he's not Kelul Shleimus of Matzei. Eberville is a Matzei Echet. So who's a Matzei? The Eni Matzei, Eberville is a Matzei Echet. See, we're used to things that the Skeich HaSeichel is the Gabi him is not Tefes Makim, Avanim flying. The Gabi is Keich HaZrika, there's a Tefes Makim to Avanim flying. Because every Keich is Mugbal. It has its tzir. Here we're saying, what if you have a Keich which, if he wants, he could be in a lower form. So that's the gather of the lower form. That when he wants, it can be lower. Mitzad Atzmei without a special Ratzin, he's beyond. But if he wants, he could also be lower. That's the taich of the tzimtzum. Mishkin Tzveiter Zach. Yeah, the only thing is not verstehen what the Rebbe brings the mashal of the Chacham Gadol. It's not clear whether in the Chacham Gadol was meant this. There was also saying that prat is a little bit schwer to verstehen. I'm just saying the Lashon the whole time. You look back in Sif Tes. Biyachadim zeh. It says a couple of times this word, biyachadim zeh. But this Lashon, Koshim Kavachem Ad Kesem Chacham Gadol BeYesesh Madrigosi An Mitis Achig Del Nimtze Gam Beis Diburim Kotan Shenim Erechikal. What's the meaning of that word? B'shas Maise is a Chacham Gadol. That's the word. Even B'shas is speaking to the cotton, that's not his true state. When he's speaking to the cotton, is that his muhus? Or Mitzad Atzma is not about this. Baldazar will read him takin, read him takin. It's not the pshat that when he's speaking to the child, das is muhus. Da einer the read him takin. This is he's a kinderish cheverman. This Chacham Gadol, when he's speaking to the kid and he's misyaches to the child, he's not it's a Chacham Gadol. Mitzad Atzmai bleibt a Chacham Gadol. B'shas Maise, what's nergash? Mitzad Atzmai, it's not his mos. He could lower himself there too. That's the. So it's nergash b'shas he's being mitzamsim himself. That it's not that right now he's in a different mode. He's detached from his Chacham Gadol. Mitzad Atzmai is nishdas. That's always nergash. That's the chor of the word over there. So when you have someone a malamed that's good with kids because he has a kinderish mode to himself. So that's his mohos, that he has a shprach with kids. A Chacham Gadol, which Mitzad Atzmai is mufshat legami from a child. Poyel is a zayin zon, doesn't give him what. He's mitzamsim himself that it should be tefes makim by him what's going on with the mischak of the yelad cotton. So it's nirgash that's not his mohos. B'shas is mitzamsim himself, you're able to tell that it's not stamped that this person is a kinderish person. Mitzad Atzmai, he's mufshat from this tzir. Look, Poyel mamish isn't that tzir now. But mitzad atzmi is nishdas. It's nirgash always. It's nirgash b'shas tzimtzum that this is not what he is. So that's what the Rebbe is saying here. It's in the matzi is nirgash mitzad aratzim is their matzi. Ibervil is reichat matzi. That's not his mohos. That he's not limited in that form. That's the chol of the marshal from the Chacham Gadol. Azay, kinira.
What's the Shloime?
Without what I'm saying, without going into shit, but not this word, the hesber, because he's not movable between this year and that year. We're saying the result of the Indian. You see a Chacham Gadol speaking to a child. Unlum this, that it's mitzad Shleimus HaMahos. Let's say it's not mitzad Shleimus HaMahos. There's a difference between someone that he relates to a child because that's his world, or someone that be'etzim is not his world, or ken zacharab lazim. It's nirgash as a lost zacharab. And this Nikoda that I was bringing from there. That mitzad atzmei is not that. When you say that mitzad atzmei is not that, is that there's another darga that is higher? Or there is nirgash that it's not what he is mitzad atzmei. This person which is lowering himself down, that's not his natural state. So Adar is going to get to any matzei matzei. The matzei in dirt and guf is nirgash. The mitzad atzmei is beyond. We're beyond this. As the reveal is that the Rebbe is not being masber. We're not being masber now. The how is it that the any matzei is also a matzei? He's saying something. What we're saying is the matzei is not called koli matzei. Mitzad atzmei is ernish das. That's what Mair is.
Refer to the Alta Shleimus.
Where? But I'm saying that's not what the Rebbe is bringing the mashal for. The Rebbe is bringing the mashal for something else. The same way you understand.
The mashal, the Havana shows it.
The Rebbe is not bringing the mashal for the Havana necessarily.
Okay.
If it's for the Havana, Yamot is what we bringing by that to Moscow or something. The Rebbe read the kind. I think the Rebbe is bringing just this word, that it's not when I'm saying usually there's a keach naila and a keach namo. Say person there keches. Here we're saying we see this person firzach nicht wer is mitzad. That's the mashal the Rebbe is saying. Azivot we can say that matzei is a lower keach of Yochanan Elukus. Here we're saying it's not a lower keach. The Elukus mitzad atzmei is hecher. Lost the chalap. So what's always nirgash? The mitzad atzmei it's not where he's supposed to be. That's the nukot that the Rebbe is bringing before. That in the matzei is nirgash that's not the whole story. Mitzad atzmei is beyond it. As that third word. It's clear the meaning. Let's go through some artists. Let me send the artists. We'll go through the artists from Sifid base. Okay, so 45 he brings the Mekeres Chassidus. In Edemas never built in Nifsek, he brings the Nekodamai Mechatos. Yeah, this is a famous artist, 47. That what's the Pshat Maim Mechazman? Pshat Mechazman is the Pshat is that technically he exists, but the fact that there's a nar that doesn't reflect the truth of what's going on here, because only mitzad tzibis chitzeni is different than nar. But you take away those reasons, the thing mitzad atzmei means what you see is not really what's happening here. Because if you take away external reasons, v'dvar eis nar, that's called that the fact that there's a nar is not a davar amiti. So the Rebbe brings here, Ebazei, why if Nifsakas the Shanim Rabbis Yesim Yeshava Eina Mayim Chazmans, so here Shloime, that Legabi the Mitzias of Welt, Sheva is a Tukuf Shloime. The next Tukuf of Zman, that's a new Indian. It's not considered that with every 7 years is a world for itself. Is a Shloime Saheka for itself. Kimish comes to say Elam Ukazov, Verch Lemesh Kavanas Ukazov Mayim Chaim, Ulechaim Shberech Abriya Gufa. Inin amiti legabi amitzias, which is home mitzias is davar zmani. So what's with the inin amiti legabi amitzias, which is home mitzias davar zmani?
Maybe that means the entire existence.
But the true definition of MS hatas the ganze Welt hatas nicht. So within the context of the world, within the context of zman, 7 is a full chunk of zman, and each kufa of sheva is a new Indian.
If it's because of the world of clouds, because of
The mele, so the musik of emes is according to what's considered eternal within these gedarim. Within these gedarim, each chunk of zman is a chefza for itself.
Maybe eternal within these dharm is 5,785 years.
It's not. Let me say. Kimish kom selim kazov. Be'achar chlemesh kavanas kazov ma'im chaim u'lechaim sheberach abriya gufa. Mikivan shekol shmitu t'kufa b'na'atzmei. So the gabi ametzias which called kulis kazov, he has an akud of nitzchias. The svar is fakir. Be'etzem is a ganze metzias is kazov. The home mitzvah is kazov. So what's the home musik of emes? Lefiyerich. Lefiyerich, yeder sheva is lefiyerich and a kod of nitzchis. Why should it need to have the ultimate? Anyway, the ultimate it doesn't have. It only has the musik of eternity relatively. It means it has an aspect of eternity. An aspect of eternity is every 7 already has an aspect. What's that from different? We're only looking for an aspect of emes. An aspect of emes it has, even if it's 7. Kimmich kol shmit t'kuva v'na'atzmei. There's a Shloime Shloime la pirush k'shnsakim achas b'yevel is oz mikro mayim. Okay, yevel lilel. Okay. Is in order 48, was auch der Rebbe in der Pnim, that bald, the ganze Beziehung, was ist mit Zad Motzi, but this Lashon deserves ein klar. Was sagt der Rebbe in der Pnim? Kiemen Shkolam Tzis Elam, like mit Zad Zesh Yisbarach Hishbelas, also mit Chinas Motzi Rishon, aber mit Zad Atzmus Yisbarach, where's the meaning Zad Atzmus Yisbarach? But mit Zad Atzmai, means if you ask Motzi, is this the most? No, mit Zad Atzmai is Hecha davon. She betok fagamata li shebehela, means there mit Zad Atzmai, das ist Echet within the gather of Motzi, mit Zad Atzmai is higher than that. In the that means that the pnimius of Motzi is Eini Motzi. And so the fact that it exists, nicht in them, is nicht gemetzius amitis. L'hoyer, asher degi da b'china da Motzi rishni is batlan over metzius. As they state in Chassidus, a different word that the Rebbe is saying over here. That was it nicht gemetzius amitis, because ebs wird das Gale werden in sein Schädisch, der werden ist. In the Pnim, the Rebbe read nicht mit Tzad Gilui. The Imtis Gale is in a brackets. That's not the word. The word is that Pnimiyusa is in Einimatzu. That's the word in what the Rebbe is saying here. Not that if the Mokra will be in a different mode within his battle. Nicht das is the word. Mitzad Einimatzu doesn't exist. And the Einimatzu is Behelim in the Matzu. As wird nicht das Gale, so what? The Mitzad Atzmei, the Matzu says as a Dafir Zayn. The Metzius itself says the Mitzad Atzmei is nicht da. But in Chassidus steht noch ein zweiter Bier, that the Gila, the Master Rish is bad on the Metzius. So there brings in the brackets, Kamed Dargas Vibitl. He brings it 51. And that's going to have to be explained, that in order to explain that the Nivra should be able to be affected by the Eini Motzi, to change the Nivra, that is helping their word. We want to bring out here that the fact that the Nivra is a Metzius Sheina Mitis, that makes it a Keli to the Eini Motzi. We can invite him. The fact that B'shas with this Galaver and Zayin Sherish at the Vern is, that's a lower darga of bittul, which is not of bittul mitziyusa, which is not enough for the shlila of halach. The shlila of halach is fully negated in mitziyusa. The fact that the yad has an aspect outside of ratzon elin, that's going to be fully negated. So there's zayin der nekuda in yad outside of the ratzon. The whole mitziyusa yad is going to be val mitzadei b'shaz ratzon yifaranahan. The nekuda in the yad that's shleik feir ratzon, it's very nice. Emes very nice. That Indian you only have mitzad eni matzah. Mitzad the gili of matzah rishon, so. Saf kol saf, it's bottle, the mitzias, the yeshes, or whatever, different dargas in the bittul, but the etzim get there never blight. That attaches in order 51.
So the beer in the Pnim isn't about the gila of the animal.
No.
That's only the bracket.
Yeah, the Rebbe is saying what's the nature of the existence itself. Behelim, every mitzias, Behelim has a tchuna that negates the fact that it exists. It's a chiddush what the Rebbe says here. I'm saying it's a whole different avana in the Metzias and Nivra. It's not attached. I'm saying it's a whole different avana.
Such a beer is not explained.
In Umrim steht etwas anders. That the Nivra is a schwach. The Nivra is a schwache Sach. The Rebbe is not saying the Nivra is a schwache Sach. The Nivra has a element which negates the fact that it exists. And the Pel Mamish is da. As that's certain Metzias. Very interesting certain Metzias. I'm saying the fact that there's a Fseidus in the Nivra. That's a tchuna in the Nivra that has a Fseidus. So that was the same before. Man stammt der Fseidus. Because the Nivra mitzad atzmei, its gather is not Metzias. Its gather is being shegel the fact that it exists. So it's a tchuna chiyuvis in the Nivra. That the mitzad echad, you say he self-destructs himself.
This doesn't say that.
Wo steht das?
I'm asking.
Not that I know. I'm not the Bakim Sidus. I'm saying.
What's the marshal? I'm
I'm saying. I just surprised you. I was gemeint,
Why is there bringing marshal
that's the whole beer, the musik of emes. That the fact that something technically, we know of a false thing, a fiction, an imagination, or reality. You're saying there's something that's here, but its outer code doesn't represent what's really happening here. It's there's a da. It's fließt Wasser. Is this the true definition of this thing that it's fließt Wasser, or is only mitzat sibis chisenis? It's only mitzat sibis chisenis. That's called the mitzvah sheina mitzvah. The fact that you see a nar is in a way is being mechaziv. It's not telling you the whole truth. What the Torah says in Tanya, you have someone that has hein tatar Abbas Hashem, and tomorrow is Abbas Hashem versus battle. So it's not be'emes. Why is it not be'emes? You see, be'etzem this person hatish be'Abbas Hashem. Mitzad specific chitzein is because he someone was murdered him, so it's mitzad the sibis chesenis. That's not neveh mitzad him.
Sounds like
So,
Umma.
huh?
Sounds like the word of Umma.
No, I'm just saying that's a part of yes. That's a part of emes. Emes means siddah, but it's a technical being. It doesn't represent the true definition of what the Indian is. That's what we're saying in amitis is. Wo ist Haltman? Maimer Chazal, beinu de Echzel lekaychu. Steht dort in Takedet. Malachim if Heshta Gishbarach it's by Aktane v'Sarfon. So even mitzad the makar of the Nivraim. It's by Aktane means even the diagonal kudish is a makar to the Nivraim. But if it's nisgala with the ganze take, if it is a battle event. Shkam b'china zu never meet them. That was my Earth 35. Even mitzad Matzeh, even mitzad the darga of Rishon, meet them urivesh. So Melav Shas with nisgala when a darga which is the einer richter and then is battle event. The Chassidus brings a dogma. It will be nisgala in the Tarnagel's shadish. You have a chicken lamata. The Tarnagel shadish dirt is b'chinas bina and this is nasach bina. So this galavern or in the Arye Lamata is shadish pnei Arye Shib Merkab. Abbas Hashem in the Venus Gala in the Mitzias of a lion as Abbas Hashem as I Slavas vi pnei Shadish Merkab. But the very nice Mitzias. Shalei be'er klal. But Ava Bekain is the same Indian of it's that Indian. L'chein Eves Hamas Mitznotzeri Shinu Davka Dehel Be'estra Be'er Manivra. Yeah. Read da Umnam Sham Shim Mizgal Mervam Shmata Sheshim Mekeiram. Him is battling in Tziyusah. So, but why is that negay here? But the Rebbe is bringing that even the seven sad motzi is in Efen of It means we're not shallow the word of Umna. Even mitzad motzi alein can be masber saying that mitzias is not emes. But the Rebbe read is their mitzias. Miret that zweite Sach. Miret what's prat in mitzias bread bottle. The etzem get they say Chassidus brings the dogma that the sikus of the tapuach sharshes and chesed datzilis. If we'll be nisgala lamata the mesigas of the tapuach is shadish and chesed, so the sweetness of the buch will be nisbata. But the gather of mesigas will still stay. Mitzat chesed atzilis, there's an asmakim to the gather of sweetness. It's not mushlo betachlis. You can't say that it doesn't exist. The concept of sweet. It's the chesed atzilis is shalei be'er higher than this concept, but he's nice and makim to this gather of sweetness. So what do we? What the Rebbe will uftanda is. That not that the yad will be in this battle kuluk mekalach shel legabi is maker. We want it shouldn't exist. The yad shalei mitzad haratzin shouldn't exist. Period. Not it should be bottled betachlis because it's maker shalei be'erach. You have a chassidus means a dogma of a chacham cotton leumas a chacham gadol shabein arech. In front of the chacham gadol is this battle betachlis. But you can't say that it literally doesn't exist. It's because the elvin is much higher. So the b'shas azach is be'en arech hecher from the davar cotton. So the davar cotton is kolachshiv l'chvei shag b'tera ma'yahani. The davar cotton is kolachshiv l'gav the davar cotton. But you can't say that the davar cotton is garnished. Or the classic dogma that everyone brings is dogma. They have pruta achas l'gabe bligvol prutas. Say even that. Okay, so gvol l'gabe bligvol is kolachshiv. Kolachshiv. There's no value. It's not a percentage of its kolachshiv. Gvol l'gabe bligvol. But it's bligvol prutas. Can't say talking as a pruta is garnished. The chshivas of the pruta is in his battle. It's kolachshiv is be'en arech, and his mashmos is in his battle. But there's still a concept of a pruta. There's no concept of a pruta. What's the yichas of the bligvol? The yichas of the bligvol is that he has this inyan on agbolis. So the yichas of chesed atzilis is that he has mesikos in a true oifen. But the etzem gather of mesikos exists even mitzad the bittul. But this is helping what the Rebbe from Mavar Zayin. The Mavar Zayin a different inyan. That halacha tut uf, not that the mitzias hanivra should be kolachshiv. It should be ice. There's only zayin. You say in seichel there's no square svar. You say that the squareness is bottled to seichel. It doesn't exist. There's no musik of square and circle in the svar. It exists. That nekuda you don't have mitzad b'yurim in the umnum and those maymorim. That's the. But the Rebbe is saying the truth is even mitzad matzah is halal b'ester. But the Rambam read them. And it's not a stira to what the Rambam says. When you say system mitzad matzah has to be halal b'ester, ebazekum tei is that Allah has no chshivas. No, because mitzad halacha there is the sof kol sof mitzad the lukus who is mitzam himself in the tzir of chesed. There is a tfisas magim to the mitzvah of chesed. Yes, no nachin them. Numbers in order 50. The Rebbe says in the Pnim that it's in amitis because mitzad any matzah is a nishta. He says there's a zesha who mitzias v'lei dimyin. Reaction to say in amitis so rak legaba ein mahabes hayesh. Gabi atzm says that Shemala Meilem is Mikivish the Gabi and Etzim Master ain't Shum Mitzias Klal. Since I'm above state that the fact that the world is Faran, Elamaya Shvachim Mitzias, that's Mitzad Ayin Mahaves Hayesh. Sheik Mitzad Ayin the way it is Lifnei Etzim Tzum, Mitzad Ayin Sof Lifnei Etzim Tzum, the Gabi atzm says that V'chanish Takim Velt. and the Gabi in the Tzimtzum is not master. So the Gabi, so it's nicht wie the Rebbe sagt in the Pnim. The Rebbe says in the Pnim that mitzad Eini Motzi. We're not saying that mitzad Eini Motzi b'chal nishtakim vel. The fact that the world is a mitzvah she'ein amitis is mitzad Eini Motzi. Mitzad Motzi is a mitzvah amitis. Mitzad Motzi mitzad atzmi. The fact that the mitzvah is a mitzvah she'ein amitis, that's because b'pnimius the Motzi is Eini Motzi. L'chol es havav steht anders. The mitzad Eini Mahaves Hayesh means mitzad Motzi, it's a mitzvah she'ein amitis. And mitzad Eini Motzi, mitzad higher than Tzimtzum, existiert b'chal nicht. That's the shayla.
There's two shots,
Right, yeah. This is where the Shabbatar between the Baal and Meir. This kam praten over there. In the Vikuach. What is gedruckt? What is gedruckt in the WhatsApp or something? Oh, there's a shayla there. Huh?
You're following.
I'm not following, someone told me. You think that's ergens wie for Anna Ferdele. Looks like a dumb phone bets and there's aber ihm ist es still machkas befnim. Shelo mit CS frag shein amit. Sich ist der verwusst nicht. Was haben wir waff schon, das mit Darbe der Arzt ist selbst gemisch mit Zadatz mit. Redt nicht mit Zadatz. Redt Arzt mit Zadatz mit Zad nicht mit Zadatz. Mit the nature of Arzt mit Zadatz in stark gewalt. Any much mit Zadatz. Not mit the fact that the rot soll the Zamzum is asking. Rot soll Sashwal asking. Well, so saying David says the air is something that's me. What's for the air does? Sazam is air, which the whole gather Matzis doesn't exist. As that sort air does. Kimish was at the beginning of any Matzi. Tell him since it's asking beginning. Everything means tell him before. Should not mitzad at Tzimtzum. Mitzad Emma later taking a shtak Mitzi in the Berachar Chali Matzis. Hadish the Gabi Atzman said himself ancient Mitzi is klar. Gamle Mitzi is the cause of. Mashiach and Abdur Bifnim is mitzad at Tzimtzum. What's there saying mitzad at Tzimtzum? The Eini Matzi mitzad at Tzimtzum. There is actually the Ayin Mahaves Hayesh. Thus, what the Welt nicht mit Tzimtzum ist the Ayin Mahaves Hayesh is because the premise of the Ayin Mahaves Hayesh is the Atzmi Seid itself. This Atzmi Seid itself mitzad Atzmi, which the Gabi mitzad Atzmi taking the shtakim Welt, but Atzmi Seid itself mitzad the fact that all are pretending to be a Welt. So the premise of the Matzah is any Matzah. So it's mitzvah shein amitis. Mashiach and Dur B'fnimu Acher Tzimtzum is hasan lizum chinas Matzah. The us after the Gabi is working at Tzimtzum master klal, but ha'ilum mitzis. This is important shula agili, the shula agili here. What gesehen das? Das ist Reise, wenn es also sagt, das ist mal kurz bei der Chesh, man sagt, das Zimtzum nasa elum benzis. Wo der Kilo v'lo lo mamish. Means mitzad that Zimtzum, volt es taka faran. It's not a dimye. Ki agam shu hu ha-mitzamtzum atzmei, hu makar atzmusish kam bigol levidu atzmusish baruch ha-bulti bagvul, mikom kim kashashir ledaiti is baruch ha-tzamtzum eri l'hori v'chinas Zimtzum, hini be'em esayeke. Both these none are true. The Eibush is not limited that he has to be dafkin ha'ifin of Ein Sof. Eber will is sich mit Tzimtzum. And mitzad that Tzimtzum, the Tzimtzum is Dovra Amiti. Only we're saying the Tzimtzum is asking. Is also just Herren sein Ein Sof. Und mitzad the fact that Herren sein Ein Sof, Welt is Amitzias, and it's Dovra Amiti. The Tzimtzum is also Emes. Both Inyanim are Emes. And it's one Inyan. The Inyan is that mitzad Atzma, he's beyond this. But mitzad that Tzimtzum, he's in this. That's what it is. It's not two separate Inyanim. You say, mitzad Atzma is Azeh, mitzad this Nekuda is Azeh. It's not a stira. Kamig all of Yedua means mitzad Atzma is a mufshe davon, but mitzad Haratzon is Yada Mitzis. So the mitzvah Indian is because here you need to have the beer. How can it be Kamig all of Yedua with the Chacham Gadol? If it's Hasmaise liegt in Chachmas Muskalas Amukis, so it's a stira. If it's nirgash this Indian, we can understand zusammen mit dem Kind. If it's nirgash in Sof, here we're saying on one hand there's a tzimtzum, leidach leicht in Sof, and the tzimtzum is Davar Amiti. But b'yachad himself, the Gabi hit the tzimtzum is not master. So what's the pshat? So here you need to say the word that the Eibush is not mukbul. So he has the mile of tzimtzum and the mile of air, both in Yana b'yachad. The fact that he's Ein Sof is because it's tachas hashlemus, and tachas hashlemus is also mechayer that if he wants, he could do nesin makom l'mtzias. It's not so it's both never from the same nekuda. Because it's Ein Sof, so mitzad echad is Ein Sof is a nish mukbul in a welt. Mitzad sheni, because it's Ein Sof, if he wants, there could be a welt. For this word, you need medafres masber zayin. You need a beer that because here the Rebbe is saying that the Gabi Elokus, both in Yanam are Meir. Understand what I'm saying? If you say without this nekuda, you say the mitzad atzma he's mufshit, mitzad this ratzin for tzimtzum is neisen makim tevelt, and it's always nirgash. It's a tzimtzum. Nicht das is mitzad atzma. But the Rebbe is saying here is that mitzad echad the tzimtzum is emes. Means there's a nekuda amitis where what's the nekuda of tzimtzum that ein sof is not bizgalus, and mitzad ein sof not the way it is bizgalus of a limited version kaviyach of alukus. There's a tefisas hokum tamitzis. But we're saying the guy by the Eivish there that ein sof is meir. Can make all of you do even lachar tzimtzum. It's meir the ein sof is meir lachar tzimtzum. So mitzad ein sof ein davar achar echalimatzis. Wie kann das sein beide Sachen zusammen? How could it say be legabihim begoli ein imatzi, which mitzad ein imatzi there is nothing, and biyachad im is matzi. So this the vart is because legabi mitzad Eivish is meir the remes. The remes is that the fact that the Eivish is ein imatzi is because not because he's mugbal to ein imatzi. Because he's blikvul, because he's ein sof, because he's tachas hashlemus. Tachas hashlemus is not so vir vil. Mitzad atzma he's not mugbal to mitzias, but if he wants, can it does an echet, and it's not a still of these two tnuas. Does it move on? For us, nicht moving. For us, this nicht moving. The Eivisher is ein sof. Ein sof is he limited that he has to be in a form of ein sof, which is sheila mitzias? What does ein sof mean? That he's enough. He's limited to the fact that he's beyond, or that the Eivisher is ultimate perfection. Ultimate perfection means that any type of being that contains within itself a ma'ila, the Eivisher automatically has it. So is there a ma'ila to be a matzah? Epis shleimus ifran and matzah. There's a shleimus. So this same ein sof is also matzah. And biyachad there's a shleimus to be any matzah. There ein sof echet any matzah. It's not a state of these two things. Mitzad the emes b'shas. Both of these inyanim are not a stira begoli one to another. It was Mazur asking me the also love it. With Meir Zayin the nekuda behind it. What I'm saying is b'chitzeni is let's say there's a mile of malak alamin. He says in the Rusach in Achta Savai and the Dark Zezacha that let's say there is a mile Seviv is ein sof higher than Gidran Nivra. Lepoil, there's a mile, but it's at that dargis, so he can't be Neslavish in Primi in the Nivra. The Nivra can't be Masigim, and they themselves can't be Kalim to the Bittel because it's Blikvul. The Eivish also has the man that is a Malik Kalam, that is Erki coming away, that is Behesim to the Asagas and the Kaplan. Lepoil, was can come in Basaga? Only a Darg of Gvul. Mitzad, Havaiva Lekim Kolach Mitzad, the Eivish there, in Seviv and Amali are one equal, not two separate in Yom. The Eivish is not Mukbul and Seviv either. He's Tachas HaShleimus. So, all the certain shleimus is done in the lukus. And they're there biyachad. It's not two separate in yonim. The same nekuda which mitzad that he's saved. Why is he saved? Because he's ein sof. Mitzad that the same nekuda is also mamalik because he's ein sof.
So what changed from the question to the answer? What changed?
This is another point. What do you mean? What changed?
You said the gabe lower madrega there wasn't mitzias. Gabe harvard it was not a mitzias.
Yeah, but here the Rebbe is saying that even and the lower madrig is emes. The tzimtzum is emes. Now they're saying the gabe the ma'ila even the tzimtzum is not master the gabe. Selach der hechere darge even you say the chacham gadol is mitzamtzum yourself to misachas to the yalit cotton and b'shas ma'isa liegt there in askol samukas. Wie can liegen in askol samukas and b'yachad them zeh to care about the game of the kid? B'chol es tat disaster. B'shas herzach begoli ein sof. Any matzah, so how could that be together with matzah? The teretz is it's the mitzadamita seinian. The any matzah is not tachas hashleimus. From when stammt this any matzah? Because the Eivish is not mukbal. You can't define him. So any virtue he contains, any tzur of mitzias he doesn't farang because the Eivish is a mitzah sein sof. So mitzadat darge they have shata and the albasha are not two separate in yon.
The Rebbe says we couldn't name the hell.
Good. The gabe the nivra lepoil. Lost love, it's going to be this gala, it'll be the chibur of both begoli. That's let me speak lost love. Right now, I'm saying the mitzias hanivra that we see today, the enimasi is behela. When you look at the mitzias hanivra, you only see the aspect of its mitzias. The fact that it contains within itself a tchuna of shlilas mitzias, that's not nikar begoli. Lo asid love, it's going to be nikar begoli because it'll be mayor that the pnimius of the enimasi and the matzi is one akuda, that there's an eivish which is ein sof. Right now, what's nirgash is there's an enimasi. The gabe enimasi is a hecha from mitzias. And mitzad matzah, there's a makar from mitzias, and it's two separate miles. Also, there's galavan that the Eibushter is beyond this mile and beyond that mile, and b'meili he has whatever he wants. B'shas with this galvan, the Eibishter's hecher sai von Eni Matzah and sai von Matzah, and that Eni Matzah and the Matzah both stem from the same point. Then they can both be in Begili. Aber move on, ist nicht move on. Ist nicht so klar.
In the Shulgan is a different part from
Because the Rebbe adds, because in some above it says that. Yeah. This word, as the Rebbe explains later, when the Rebbe speaks about loss of love, the Rebbe read that in, because the Rambam says later, what's going to be lost of love will be Yedin Dvaram Astumin V'yasigu Das Beira. That a Yid's going to be Sai, it's going to be Meir Ben Begoli, Dvaram Astumim is Eini Matzeh, and Sai, Yasigu Das Beira is Matzeh. Side Chinas Matzeh will be Begili, the Meach HaAdam, and side the Eini Matzeh will be Begili. So there the Rebbe was the pshat that the Eini Matzeh and the Matzeh is there Begili. The Chorim said Eini Matzeh Nishtake Meach. How could they both be Begili b'Meach HaAdam? So that's the Rebbe there, because Mitzad Etzem, Mitzad Atzmos, it's not a still. They'll Chatchilu all both one evening. Let's get to that später. I'm saying that's not it's not nicht the Platz da. But this is a general word of Chassidus, this word, no? It's nicht this is the. But again, the pnim is, and the Rebbe brings in the order also, that the tzimtzum is a davar amiti. Punkt is the fact that the Eibush is blig vol. So the Eibush is ein sof, that's true. The Eibush also kechat tzimtzum is also true. He's not mobile to be blig vol. If he wants to be gvol, that's also davar amiti. The same way the mitzad the fact that the Eibush is ein sof is nisk and b'melish leicht blig vol. The Eibush is ein sof, he also has the Shloime sagvol. And the point that the blig vol is ein amiti. Ein sof is also gvol. It could be Milo himself. So the Helem is also davar amiti. The same way the Ein Sof is neisen within himself in an Agili, he's also neisen within himself in an Helem. And mitzad Helem there's a Mitzias. So the Helem is also emes punkt the Eres emes. That's the new there brings from there. How could it be both Begili? So that's because in Primis Inyan, that's the Bart Naveis HaKedesh. What's the Bart Naveis HaKedesh that the Eibush Shlemus the Kola im Tema Shekech Budi Bagvol Kachish the Kech Bagvol. Im Tema that the Eibush only has a Kech Bagvol. Atam Chazar Shlemus. The Shaila is why does he have to bring Rayas? The Pasha is to bring a Raya that the Eibush is also Kech Bagvol. Because if you're going to say that he only has Kech Bagvol, then Chazar Shlemus. What does bring a Raya? We see that the Eibush created a world and the world is limited. What's that for bringing Rayas? We see that if the Eibush was only Kech Bagvol, we can have a Shaf and a Felt and each Nivra has a Chayes Mubbo. So that the Teres, he's not coming to bring a raya that the Eibush has also Keichag Bo. He's coming to explain what's the Pshat Keichag Bo. That it's the same. What he's saying is, it's another shayla. You say, I mentioned this. He says, Ein Sof Kshem Shesh Keichag Bo Kachish Keichag Bo. Shem Teimar he only has Ligvon Agbot and Chasash Lemus. So the shayla is, why is the fact that it doesn't have Keichag Bo Chisar in the Shlemus? But Pashas you say. Once it's already gvol, so the fact that he cannot relate to Nivra Mugbo, that's Chisan. But Aveskesh Ret Meikar, Ein Sof. Someone has a power, unlimited power. You see, he doesn't have the power in a limited way. What's Far Chisan is that? See, it's a Chisan to have something unlimited, you don't have it in a limited way. If you don't have to relate it to someone else, what type of Chisan is there to have it in a way of Blikvo and Agvol? But the Aveskesh comes like an Ein Sof is not Mugbo to the Tzir of Blikvo. Amitas Ein Sof is that he has no tzura at all. That's what he's coming to say. Not because who says that bleak falls the ultimate? If you're looking at Ein Sof Agbal, they say what's b'shat Ein Sof bleak fall. Ein Sof doesn't mean bleak fall. Ein Sof means Ein Sof, no limits. So punkt azever had bleak fall had poleich. It's the same Ein Sof that Sai is bleak fall and Sai gvul. So the gvul is the same nekuda as the bleak fall. That's what he wants to say. The nekuda of Ein Sof is tachas hashleimus. That's the nekuda of Ein Sof. No limits at all. No limits at all. So how does that express itself? Sai any matzah and sai matzah. So b'shasavet meir zayin the way it is inside the Ein Sof that is tachas hashleimus, it's can meir zayin begoli beidet tnu sai the gvul and sai the bligvul. Because it's all a result of the fact that he's amitas Ein Sof, not limited to any form. You're going back to the. I'm just saying that's was kumt zu mit the word. That mitzad l'mayla, even lachar tzimtzum is meir the blikvo. The pearl, the niver is going to stay mitzad shein amitis. comes at a very interesting Zat. The Rebbe says in Mefurish later when he speaks about Loss of Levi. But the Rebbe brings the Be'im Tizgal L'Bchina Zu De'eni Matzi, the world will be in his battle. But Fratch Omer Chazal Shazei Izgal L'Bepoil Chat Chruv. The Rebbe says, what's going to happen in Elot Hashvi? The belt is with Vern Eis, or Lo'as Levit is Gal Vern Da Mitzah Se'inyan. The way it is Mitzad the Mitzah Se'inyan, the Gvul and the Bli Gvul are really the same Nekudah. It's out the day from the Mitzah Se'in Sof. So the Matzah and the Eini Matzah will be together. So the Nekudah Sashlil of the Mitzvah belt and its Mitzvah will be biyachad. Won't be a stira one time.
So Chat Chruv is the way.
Chat Chruv is expressing the element of any Matzah with the belt. But not that we're going to forget about the Matzah. Today, what's Meir Begali is the darg of Matzah, the fact that the world is Neveah from Matzah. La'as Levit Shtein Begali, also the Bchin of any Matzah. Not it's going to become Eis Welt. The Tchunas of any Matzah which is in the Mitzvah Nivra, that will be this Gala. Loss of Levi. We'll have to see later. We'll get the I'm saying it's not just it's a Zern Eis. So Zern Eis was this Gala and der Emes from Zayn Mitzvahs. Let's see 51. Oh, in the Shlius Mitzvahs, Mashum says, "Any Emes my bomb in the Enes." It's ein Gam Gintane per Chof Chofal. Sham Chelik Beis per Gimel Dalet. So dort steht that was steht dort? That the Nivra that ifs wird ins Gale werden. The Shere Shemokar Nivra to werden bottle. Yeah, the same, not the mamish the same as the Umnam, but the Mitzad Ein Sof, Shloime Mitzad Tzimtzum, the Nivra is bottle betachlis. Lohoyer is bechilik shpei sham du bitl an Avram the Gabi Shefel the Kiv Mitzad Dvaravai Miroch Veshefel im Haves al derech like an Umnam. The bitl an Nivra the Gabi the Dvaravai. Hainu the Gabi b'china the Motzirish. In a bitl shebetanya sham who not that they don't exist. Mash included in Kera. Avalei she'ena Mitzias klal. Avalabir shebasich mash elam in Mitzias amitis. ומצטזש כאשר תסגל לבחינה דאיני מוצא יסבטל ומציוסי לגמרי. כי מצד הבחינה דאיני מוצא אין דבר אחר יוכל להימצא. So that's what the Rebbe is saying in the Order 48, this Order 51. That this Kamet Darg is bebittel. The Rebbe is a dogma. You see it in Tanya that there's with this Gala and Varavai with the Niver and Bottle. Of what's mean dort and Bottle? The concept of Niver won't exist, or the concept of Niver will exist, but it's a prat in him. Not that there's going to become Eis Yad. The Yad is a prat in the take of the Varavai. We want to say over here that mitzad eri matzi v'tevern eis mitzias ain't davar chali matzis. Not even a nivra kolubay. Eis mitzias legamri. Why is that negeh? Huh?
Why not the issues of Tisgal?
Well, in Tanya there.
No, here, in the second paragraph.
Yeah, there it says a few times.
And the 50 also says nothing.
Yeah, but it does. That's not the nekudas inyan. They're saying mitzad eri matzi doesn't exist at all, and this eri matzi is there. The Gabi, the Rebbe is saying the facts that the Peloton is the Nivra is not bottled right now because it's behelim in the Nivra. Means there's a trait in the Nivra which stems from the Inimotz, but it's not begoli. Yes, but this Galvan to burn is the Gabi does. Oh, here the Rebbe says the Nekuda. Mitzad the Inim Motzi, even and the Rebbe's Kalim in Order 52, even Mitzad Motzi b'Shas vet this Galvan and the Nivra Vernes, but kivan shemamtzi mahaves elam efin kazeh. The Poel from Vanen stand is developed as a Mitzias. It's nevea mitzad the fact that the motzi is mahav, the is mahav v'vot an azam mitzvah. She even mitzias gam teren kiyam. It's in kav yochel b'keichel lifo shalei tive mitzias. L'chin pulas elam mitzvahs b'elam mitzad b'china the motzi hu ke'enei sof ha-mitzias. Hainish kam la'achri kiyam mitzvah nishnu mitzias ha-kedamis. Al shenish l'machisam. Adi shniteise b'shina adi pulas ha-mitzvah. Avok teisha mitzvahs yifulu b'elam bittul mitzias ha-kedamis hu dafka mitzad b'china deni motzi. Dugma say yedua shasher shanisim but after Matzin stuff some other made of Slavish village. That's the same shayla. State of Chassidus, B'Shatz, but this Gala and the Sherish Mitzvahs, the Sherish Mokran Nivra, but the Nivra Vernes. So why does it say in Chassidus in order to be a nest? Shid the Bitlateva. Dafka said Atzim saving himself. What did that say? Atzim saving himself. Should be this Gala the Sherish of Mayim. Instead of the Sherish of Mayim, so the Yam will be in his battle. But you don't. The Yam is going to be bottled to a higher Indian, but its gather won't be in his battle. Mitzad Mayim b'Sherish Achi Elyon. Mayim in Yonei to flow. And mitzad that darga, that's you're saying something else. Mitzad that darga, which just it's Meir, Mayim, Chesed El Chesed Elad Atzilis, the Mayim is Kolochshiv. The Chacham Cotton is bottle gabi the Chacham Gadol. But the Chacham Cotton's gather is not going to be in his bottle through the Gili of the Chacham Gadol. Masha'ink mitzad Eini Motzei, so that aspect of the Nivra that is a Metzias doesn't exist mitzad Eini Motzei. and mitzad that b'shas the herzach that any motzi, where you have the keich of any motzi, then it's niggish the whole motzi is because as kach olibertzain. And b'meila whatever is not kfir ratzin doesn't exist. That's dafke if you also have the ingredient of the any motzi. Mashiach only mitzad the tzir of motzi without bringing in the nekudah the mitzad atzmi is any motzi. Only when you bring in the mitzad atzmi is any motzi. Then the whole motzi is only mitzad the ratzin. Mashiach without bringing in the any motzi, the motzi mitzad the tzir of motzi is neisin makom limitzah yusei k'meishu without the mitzvah, and it can't be cancelled. Even Claude, that's the Indian?
Yeah.
What I'm saying, Stamazir, you're saying if state Erges wrong Sidis, the pearl that ever brings me here Mekaitis for the Indian of Mitzvah Shein Amitis. Or Stajt sich gestoppt as a word. Yeah.
In our family, the beginning, there's two questions, right? So there are two questions.
Right, but the answer is that das is of the gan ein legabe the ein mahabes yesh. Mitzvah Shein Amitis. I have to see what it says in some of I think there Ken's answer that ein legabe ein mahabes yesh the beer like an umra. What the Rebbe is more neget is eisen to say is the fact that he says mitzad atzmi to himself. It's kemitzias nicht. Read that atzmi to himself mitzad his mitzad atzmi. Not mitzad the fact that all the Britain is atzmi mitzad.
Or you could say for like 51.
Well, like 51. Yeah, there could be other biurim in the. I'm saying his lab dafkin some above and he speaks of the Einam Habas
He
Hayeh.
says Allah Bir Shabbat right? He's asking.
Weird.
In 51, he's saying.
Yeah, that's the Gabitanya. Yeah. What's the some above?
Is that Havana some of that's what's saying there's some of also?
The Bananko.
Okay.
No, for Anchor, but that's nothing to do with this.
With that, okay.
You want to say that he's saying some above the beer that the Rebbe says here.
No.
So which beer?
Whatever when the Rebbe says that the difference between Tanya and here,
Yeah.
that's when we're seeing the world's on Metzias.
Yeah.
Because they're Klulim.
Yeah. Then that's it and some above. Scholars? I don't think it's some above the scholars. I have to look. I don't think so. Just nigga or the beer in Naumna. I'm saying this is common beer. I'm saying Re'em just not tough lamet base. So dort and retem mitzad nabzem dort stehen. Yeah. I'm saying this gives out a whole different word. I'm saying this explains you want to do two afachim with halacha. So usually you say we want there should be a yad. The kavanah but not that there should be eis yad. Eis yad, so then darf nicht mit so much nicht. Should sein a yad. But this yad should anything which is shleik fear ratzon shouldn't exist. What's the pshat? So that's the MS is that there is a yad only because the Eibusher wants. Only mitzad tzimtzum. There's never a yad outside of the fact that he wants. And mitzad atzmei darf b'chal nicht sein kein hand. That's always so the pile the halacha is you say reflects the true hagdar of the mitzvahs of the nivra. Is da weil liegt tfilin. Mitzad legen tfilin is farana handtake. Shloime mitzad rachas tfilin. Shloime mitzad ratzin doesn't exist at all. Mitzad ratzin he exists. There's a yad and there's a mayach. Mitzad ratzin there exists. Means there's a matzah. Only mitzad ratzin. You take away his ratzin, nothing exists. That's the any matzah. On one hand, the pearl that Ram gives him is in Islam developers. Chveis, health, the ganze Seder Achille, we have to exercise the whole Seder Advarim. It doesn't sound like whatever that pelach is faran is taka faran, but only because he wants. Take away the ratzin, so chanishta. Both extreme, both in Yoram are true, without limiting any. We're not saying that the velt is a shitter azach. We're not saying that the mitzias is from the fact that he wants, it's fully here. Only from the fact that he wants. Mitzad atzmi, without the fact that he wants, nothing, it doesn't exist at all. Not that it's bottom. So it exists b'chamish. Both nekudas are saying the Rebbe's not, the Rambam's not matigish the word that even mitzad matzi is a hell of a hester. Mitzad matzi is a faran. The Rebbe's matigish the nekudas achiyuv. The mitzad matzi the word is yeah mitzis. That's good for nor mitzad ratz. There's a video here, not that I have major secrets to say, but I remember one of these artists here, I think the 50 or even, what the Bill was saying was that eine von die Schale von der zweiten Hemmschaft hat nicht gefragt. Dort hat sich andere in Janatag. I'm saying the truth is, here's a different beer than Lepoil, I know someone else asked from these places. So Lepoil, it's metavich or mevar that it's not. But Lepoil, what the Rebbe read is not the same inyan as Tzedek and Adar. The Rebbe wasn't madgish b'shas the Hadran that it's even mitzad matzah and all these. The Rebbe saying in the prim is there's matzah and there's any matzah. That's the two aspects of the mitzvahs. The artist a little bit. I'm saying that's so to speak lahasim to be a state an andere Erde, but it's not. But the word here is I'm saying is that the nikud of the pnim is not that mitzad matzah is erfaran b'teikif, and mitzad matzah mitzad the darga of matzah the nivers a mitzvahs, and the yad is a mitzvahs b'fnei atzmi even without kima mitzvah mitzad darga of matzah. And mitzad and mitzad any matzah is understood ganz nicht. And both and the chibur of both. The fact that even mitzad matzah is echad a bit. Saying that shouldn't take away the nekudas sabir with the Rebbe Zok in the pnim. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Now there is so fiz. What was the kash in the beginning of the Hadran? The permanent. Saying this is basically the main nekud of the Hadran. We'll finish it. Yeah, we'll go through the whole thing. Yeah, I'll go for the first part. The part of the tshuva is nicht gedait zadurgim. I'm saying I have nothing to add. You can just learn. Huh? The third we can go because we mashed them some protein. I'm saying maybe one should. The whole part you brought before. In the third part. The what? I'm talking about the also this gala atzmos.
No, you took it all day.
That it's chiyuv.
Well, everything's chiyuv.
Yeah.
It's in the second part.
Where is that?
It's called base.
Okay, good. So we'll see that. It's called out. Okay, we can see that part. Okay, we can see that part. Then darf ich durchgehen die ganze Sache mit. But here, according to this, what's the drama? The kasha that was giving the sikh is why is Rambam saying the pnim? You say that says I'm the chacham say the sheshem matzirish. What type of halach is he coming to say? That Yediyas Hashem is a Yisayid. The fact is that it's a Yisayid. What's the psak din that he's coming to say? So if you understand that Yediyas Hashem is, you have to know that there is an Eibishter. So if a person doesn't know there's an Eibishter, so then there's no meaning, there's no Terem Nashamayim, there's no meaning to anything. But it's not something that affects a person's life. See, the way Avi Pashas versteht. What do I have to do? I have to put on tefillin, I have to be Mekayim mitzvahs. Why do you have to know there's an Eibishter? Because what's demanding me to do this? If there's no Terem and Hashemayim, was einfach getan, was steht in der Sefer? Kann ich getan wie ich trage? So you have to know the Eibishter, he created the world, and he told us to do kach v'kach. But the pile, what do I have to do? What I have to do is not connecting with him. I have to do this act and that act. What the Rebbe is saying here is that halach is the koyach. What's the nukod of halach is that the world should be behesem telikus. In order for the world to be behesem telikus, you have to have the koyach of the Eibishter. That the world should be to pearl seine Welt. To pearl seine Welt in Chiyuv, you have to have a keich halaki, the keich of matzah, which is the mokar hamitzis. And to negate the fact that the world is something which is not kfir ratzon, you have to have the keich halaki of so every halacha you do, the fact that you're able to make an imprint in the Welt is because there's a keich halaki in halachas. So in order for this keich to be, the kavanah is that a yid should do halacha, it should be nirgash what he's doing. The same way a person, you're doing halachas, you have to know that you're fulfilling the Eibishter's command. So halach is not only the Eibishter's command. It's there's a keich halaki in halachas. So in order for the halachas should be in the sky and bishleimus, a yid has to be kind of halachas in a way that he's aware of the fact that when he's going to deal with vel, mitzad echad, I'm putting on tefillin on my hand. I have to know that mitzad echad, my hand exists, so mitzias, and it's negay for me to make sure that this hand should be according to the Eibishter wants, because the mitzias of the hand is a mitzias. Li'idach, anything which is outside of the kiyum of kiyum mitzvah doesn't exist at all. The kiyum halach is that has to be in a way that a person is. It's nirgish by him this nikud of matzah in any matzah. That's this pratum. This way from call the Rebbe saying. He says mikiyum shakayach shem halach shlava shtei pulas anal ba'elam u'mishnei hanyon the matzah in any matzah shem mitzvah mitzvahs. Mitzad atzmi this kayach is not nirgish begoli in the halach. So a yid get on geht legen tefillin. L'poil behelim, when he puts on tefillin, you're affecting your hand. But if you're not aware of the fact that halacha is bringing the Eibusher's ratzon down to the world, and bringing being poil in Welt, and it should be behesten to the way the Eibusher sees Welt. So the fact that halacha is matzah and any matzah is not nirgash, is behelim. So the kech da shpa ba'elim is also limited. It's also bagbal. So it has to be nirgash by the person that from wann stammt is the fact that he's going to do what the Eibusher wants with the certain chayfetz. What's linked into them? That this mitzvah was created for the sake of the Eibusher. And anything outside of that doesn't exist at all. So you have to have both of the hergish of both of these nekudas. The mitzvah echad, the Eibusher is machshav the mitzvah salat. All over said there should be a vel, and he gives tfisa smokim to vel. And memela I'm going to have the Eibusher gives me the power to go take my hand and to have an effect on it. And leidach, whatever is in the mitzvah shleik fi'inyan, the Eibusher says that's mishayel the mitzvah salat. So when a person is aware of these inyanim, so the koyach halakibas kefinzach and halachas is more is vizgalus and more effective. Kimen shekesh halachas lifal shtei polos naba elam shnei inyanim zmatz v'yidim matzah shim mitzvah mitzvahs l'chein halacha she'adam mekayim b'chdei shehi akiyum mishleimus tzriches en liyis miyusodes v'chaduris v'dei shnei inyanim. So also besides that, if you say stamazeh that the mitzvah is, you have to know that there's an Eibusher. It doesn't affect a person's life. You know, there's an Eibusher which told me to do kach v'kach. But you say that the Rambam is explaining the yachas mitzad l'kus Welt. So a person's involvement with Welt. You're going to do something. You're going to be misasik in a certain Indian Welt. What has to be your attitude towards dealing with Inyanim Ba'ilam? Which that's every single thing Ba'ilam is halacha is makif every single move of a person. Every single thing you do, there's al pi halacha. There's halachas of how to vitzu essen, vitzu trinken, how to wake up in the morning. There's halachas about everything. What's the premise of it? What has to be a yid's attitude towards the mitzvah sayil? So the attitude is, on one hand, mitzad matzah there's the mitzvahs, and mele yeder zachas negeh, and leidach not shalek kfiyah ratzon doesn't exist at all. So these musagim that the Rambam brings is not just saying who created the world, and what's the mitzvahs of Welt legabe. What's the mitzad Eibusher? What's the mitzvahs of Welt, and what has to be the yid's attitude towards Welt? So it gives a different types. And you say some of the chachmas. Hainu, das sagt der Rambam da Allah, mitzvah des Hashem b'shnei inyanim elu tzrich li, es lerak mitzvah v'nu f'nei atzmei, elu shetzrich gam li, es yisaid v'lach der kol ha'alachis. Why? Because based on inyanim elu, neistem emakech, lifal b'elam shtei pulas anah. Yeah, what a person has in his conscience is more pale than the inyanim are more begali. Inyanim are more begali, they're more pale. Zamash kos varam says the khos nid shasham matzirishim yalla das khul sham mitzvah des sham vez pratum shva yilay like mitzvah b'fnei atzma ki ma yisaid va amach kol halachas. Everything has to be based on these two tnus. Alles was ein Mensch tut, da wir sein durchgenommen mit these two tnus. Pisa se shaf mashin in ze kos varam bil khaisov lies psagdim in gele mais. Shi des Hashem zu halachis tzrich lies yisaid. Has to be the foundation of a person's life. Und tzrich lagder limud vasiyas kol halacha mitzvah. As tzrich lagder gam di biroshus. Means the fact that there's an Eibusher, is that the foundation of my life, or it's not necessarily the foundation of my life. That's why am I doing this? Because it comes from him. So that binds me to do it. Or that's the state of everything that I do. Why isn't it get you to have to sleven a tugbe after sein? Because the Eibusher gives you the smokim tevel. And if there's the smokim tevel, so then do according to his kum by dirais. What Mitzvah Eilam says that a person should live? No, because Mitzvah that's me any matzah. The whole Mitzvah is only about the Eibusher will say. So this in Yana of matzah any matzah is a yisod. What should be a yid's yachas in Yana Eilam? They're the prat. Even Yana Rishus. Darf essen, darf seiner Welt. But so if there's a rule, that means that it's for an Welt. So then, even without halachas, only mitzvah halach, only to know the edim matzah. Saying the simple musik of the Eibusher created the world. Is that a foundation of a person's life? That doesn't change his attitude towards things. So there's certain things that he commanded me to do. But the foundation of my life is a person's cheshek and rotzen and shukah, what he's looking for, could be what he's looking for. And there's certain actions that the Almighty told him to do. Or the fact that it's an Eibusher, that's a yisod, every movement in his, that's the foundation of his life, and how he relates to things, and how he views his mitzvahs, and how he views b'chalas askus and belt. So according to this Taich of the Rambam, he's giving you the Yesodis of Elokus is Yachas to Welt. And what's the Metzias of Welt, was is ein Faran, was is ein Shlila, it's a whole different tfisa. It's negay, they were saying it's not another, it's negay l'maisa. We'll continue about it.